Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to refinish your steel rims. Now in this process here you actually don't need to remove the tires off the rims themselves, and I'm just using regular spray bomb paint, and I'm not actually having these powder coated. Now first, what you want to start with is actually removing your wheel weights. Now don't lose these because these will have to be reinstalled after. Now what I did here is actually just simply took a paint marker here. Now these can be purchased anywhere at say your Canadian Tire or any auto parts store, and I just simply put a dab of paint right there. Now with paint marker, this prevents actually the spot from being washed off when I'm wiping the rim down. Now to remove the wheel weight itself, I've actually already removed it, but you can see there's actually a little slot in the back here, so when it actually slides on there, what we want to simply do is just take a screwdriver and pop it up in behind here, and just pops off like so. Now to reinstall it, which I'll show this after, but I'll just touch base on it right now. Just want to simply place it back on there and just use a small hammer and just tap it back on. Now what it does is actually just crimps to the side of the rim there like so. Now if you are going to refinish aluminum rims, these ones are actually steel, you may want to be a little more careful when taking the wheel weights off, because you will have the possibility of scratching the aluminum or even possibly cracking it. Next, you want to start with just a wire brush to go around and actually clean any of the dirt or the brake dust off the rim itself, and clean any of the loose flaking paint off. As you can see, some of it's popping off right there. Now after I'm done with the wire brush, I will skip on to sandpaper, which I'll show you in a bit. Now as you can see here, I've already done sanding my rim. Now the next step, what you want to do actually is, before you apply the tape, I've already applied the tape here as you can see, is you actually want to wash the rim off with something that will remove any of the any dirt on the rim or oil or just the sanding dust on there. So what I actually did was sprayed the rim down with brake cleaner. Brake cleaner actually is excellent for this type of job because it doesn't leave a residue on the paint, and it's fast drying, and you won't actually have any contamination from it either. And it also has a low moisture content in it too, so you won't have to worry about any rusting down the road. Now after that, after I've sprayed it, you leave it out in the sun to dry. It's a quick evaporation in the sun. Then after, you want to start applying your tape around the edge of the rim. Now this here is just regular green painter's tape. You can purchase this anywhere at your local hardware store. Now what you want to do is actually cut small strips, as you can see here, and actually go all the way around, so you actually tape the tire off so you actually don't get any paint on the tire. Now what the small strips are for is because the paint actually isn't flexible enough to take that curve itself. So what I actually do is, when I cut the small strip off here, it's actually a two-handed job. You have to slide it back and forth and just push it in the rim there just a little bit. And what I like to do is just the knife I had kicking around the house here, just a dull this garden knife, and then just simply go like this, so it actually pushes the tape inside there, so you actually don't have to worry about any paint going between the rim and the tire itself. Leaves a nice clean crisp edge there, so it actually doesn't look like when you're done painting the rims you didn't paint them with the tires on. Now after you're done taping the whole rim off, you don't want to forget to also tape off your valve stem too. Once the taping's done, then you want to actually do is apply paper to the outside of the tire here, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Now when laying the paper around the rim, what I found the easiest way to actually lay the paper around is simply make a tear in the paper like so, and then just have it folded, and then also do the same with the other side. And I just left this piece exposed here, as you can see where the center part is, where I did the tear right there. And then I just continue to fold the paper around over here more, so it just takes the same curvature as the rim itself. Now obviously this will depend on what size rim you have. Now you just want to continue to do that all the way around the whole rim itself. Now after you've done taping off the whole area, just make sure there's no spots exposed of the tire or anything like that. And what you want to start with now is what I have here is just a regular automotive gray primer. This is non-filler primer. Now the other primer you can get, which is the filler primer, It just helps fill in any imperfections in the steel, and you can actually sand in between coats to get a perfect finish on it if you have the time to do that. Now here I'm just going to actually just prime it, and then wait about 10 minutes for the primer to dry, and then start applying my paint to it. So what you want to do is, I've already pre-shaken the can up here. You want to give nice even coats around, especially on the bare steel, as you can see here, and where the rust is. And you want to spray about roughly about 10 inches away. I like to keep it at, just so you don't have any excessive builds up on the rim itself where you can cause runs or drips or anything like that. Now after you let the primer set up for about 10 minutes, now it actually will be dry to the touch. If you want to sand it, you can go ahead, but I'm not going to bother. You actually don't really have to. Now, as I mentioned before, the primer does help with adhesion for the paint, and also gives it a base coat against where you have exposed metal. Now what I have here is actually, this is acrylic enamel automotive paint, and this color was actually matched to what I have on my car. My car is actually somewhat of a two-tone paint job. The base coat of the car is actually a silver, and the hood and roof are actually a dark gray, so this is actually the dark gray. I just wanted this sort of to highlight it to my car. Now you can go, I actually purchased this from, I believe it was Carcraft. Now I believe there is other auto parts stores that will actually match the color. All you have to simply do is give them your paint code, and they will mix you up a can of spray bomb for you. Now with this paint here, I've already actually pre-shooken it up. Now you want to make sure that the paint is shooken up well, otherwise you will have the paint separating in some spots. Now separation of paint can also be from some contamination on the surface itself too, but the primer actually hasn't separated, which is good. So obviously there is no contamination, so you want to make sure this paint is mixed up then. Now what you actually want to do is, I'm actually going to give it 3 coats of paint. Now the first coat is just a base coat just to cover up the majority of the rim. Second coat is to ensure that everything is covered up nicely, everything's even. You don't want any tiger striping patterns on there where you can actually see lighter and darker spots. And for the third coat is actually a finish coat, so that's actually the nice glossy coat you want on the rim without any overspray, runs, or orange peel in it. Now if you do actually get any runs in the paint, what you can do is actually wet sand that out after, but try not to aim for that. Now, same procedure as before, about 10 inches away when you spray the paint itself. Just give it a quick shake up here to make sure everything's mixed up. Now you want to do the same thing again, just spray around. Make sure not to go too heavy or too close on it, because you will risk the chance of having any runs in the paint itself. As you can see here, this is the final product. Now, as previously on the other rim when I was painting it, the gray actually turns out to be lighter because it was on a light gray primer. Now, the more coats you give, the darker the paint goes until a certain stage where it'll actually stop. Now, even with some paints, I've noticed that actually the further time it goes on to dry, it actually does darken up a little bit too. Now when removing the tape, you want to wait about 4 to 5 hours. Now I would advise removing the tape from around the tire itself, but not the valve stem. Within that 4 to 5 hour time frame, the paint will still be soft to the touch, but not significantly tacky. Now it is still possible putting marks in the paint, so you want to be very careful when handling it. Now the reason I would remove the tape on it is so that when the paint solidifies more, there will still be some paint on the tape itself. And when you wait a later time until the paint is fully hardened, you will actually have problems removing the tape, and it could possibly take chips out of your finished product itself. Now as for the valve stem, you want to leave that until the next day because it is in somewhat of a tight area, and you don't want to actually put any marks in the paint there because you will have some playing to do to remove that tape itself. Now as for reinstalling the rim, I would wait about 24 hours so the paint is fully cured, so when you tighten up the lugs and stuff, it won't actually chip the paint away. Now just a few steps away, just to give you a better look at what the finished product looks like on the front of the car itself. Now, any more details on this process, I will post them down below in the description for this video. If you have any comments or questions, please don't hesitate to post them. And thank you for watching.